Another story by Scott Autrey was, it's funny, when Jen and I went back for the end of an air meeting at Exeter, we ended up in two separate lines at passport control at Heathrow. The officer noticed his last name. He said, Autrey. Any relation to Scott Autrey? And Jen said, yeah, that's my dad. That's him over there in line. As Jet pointed to Scott, the guy stamped Jet's passport straight away. Must have been a Speedway supporter. LOL. LOL. My son was impressed for sure. Great memory. Of course, Scott Autrey's son knew that his papa, was a Speedway star. Scott said, what's funny is I remember when Ipswich visited Swindon, and halfway through the meeting, Billy Sanders came up to me and said, Gresh is crazy. And I replied, I agree. What do you want me to do about it? To Billy Sanders. I got a kick out of that. It put a smile on my face for the rest of the night, LOL. He's mad, I'll tell you, crazy. Then Billy walked away, shaking his head, talking to himself like a crazy madman, Billy Sanders. And then Scott said, I chuckle thinking about that when Billy told me Gresh was mad. I almost said, no shit, and walked back to my pit stall. Scott is a kind and humble man, and on his birthday, he said this to you, the fans, and his family. Thank you for the heartfelt birthday greetings. I often thought of those I truly love, especially my family, and those includes all of you. We are family. You made my life and my efforts worthwhile. I like to believe I didn't do it for myself. If I left even one good memory with you, my time was spent very worthwhile. Thank you. Love always and forever, Scott. One story Scott said in his early years as a Falcon, occasionally I'd borrow wrenches and other things from Ivan Major. Sometimes it was a bit of advice, and looking back to my early years, I was a bit of a pest, to be truthful to Ivan. I remember I had been pestering Ivan at one meeting, and I was having mechanical problems on the bike. Later, I walked over to his pit again, and I started to ask him a question. I said, Ivan, I hate to ask you this, but whereupon Ivan cut Scott off quickly and said, Scotty, if you hate to ask, then just don't ask. With a grin, Ivan said, LOL. On one occasion, Scott says, at the risk of sounding phony and insecure, occasionally I reflect on my life. Not often, but one can't help but to do that on occasion. I guess it helps us grow, maybe. For instance, as a boy, I started racing. I wanted to do it because I loved to race, but I developed a tunnel vision to be better. Maybe it was just to boost my poor self-esteem, to feel better about myself. Later, as I progressed, I wanted to include others as I felt I was beginning to have something I could share. Funny thing is, I never did it for the money. I had a personal interest that was far more valuable to share the good in my life with others. As the years passed, I went on to other endeavors and always felt the same. Maybe it was Dad's influence, I can't say. That's not to say I was an easy touch, because I never was, but I always had a strong foundation, whatever that was. I saw myself in many. It was easy to get caught up in your racing, and I fell victim at times of myself, but I would try to get back centered to who I really was. Back in the COVID times, Scott said, I can hardly wait for this COVID BS to pass so I can apply at Knott's Berry Farm to be a stagecoach driver, LOL. And I've heard it's great for picking up on women.